Which is that? 10, 10. Okay.
Alright, so dreams, dude. Dreams. And the second part I was gonna be is I think we briefly mentioned before, like the veil kind of basically between the material, like the physical and like the spiritual realm, essentially in this life.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I have the theory that it's a lot thinner in the dream state. I think dreams are a lot closer to reality than people let on. I don't know if you would. What do you think about that?
So I think it kind of depends on the person. It's like, because some people, I guess I'm trying to think of how to start, because I have a couple ideas all at the same time. But basically, I think, in my experience, my dreams are more often than not complete nonsense, and have nothing to do with the spiritual realm. However, certain dreams are based on, like, I get the occasional dream that's based on temptations from my past, so to speak. So it's like, in that regard, those ones are more spiritually related, because I think the demons are trying to, I guess, use my dreams to tempt me, in a sense, before I even wake up. The second part is, there's some people have, like, premonitions more than dreams, and so there's like a whole personality theory of that called the collective unconscious by Carl Jung, and certain personalities have extroverted intuition, which ELDR basically means either you're really good at predicting other people's futures, or like you have some sort of, like, you're more likely to have premonitions as dreams, stuff like that, or like visions.
Well, that's what happens with me, but it's only for my own life.
Yeah, but like, yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say. Is like, I think dreams can be very spiritually oriented. It's just that, in like, mine are more often than not related or anything of value. But I know dreams can be to a lot of people.
Yeah, like, I wonder why that is, though. For me, I don't even necessarily remember dreams, but very often I'll have dreams where I live the entire day, and then it's not like it happens per beat, but there'll be themes in the dream that correlate to real life for the day, and I usually forget the dream until something happens, and I'm like, wait a minute, like, this already happened. I'll be like, wait a minute, I had a dream about this.
Yeah, for me,
So it's like that.
Yeah, for me, that sort of plays out more in just regular deja vu, where, like, I haven't had a dream of it, but I have a deja vu, but then sometimes it's a deja vu of a deja vu, where I'm like, not only have I, like, thought that I experienced this in the past, I remembering having experienced it in the past.
Well, that's what happens to me too, but usually there's like a dream correlated with it more times than not. Not always. Sometimes I just get like regular, but it's more like this is and it's weird. Or I'll have dreams that don't seem to correlate like directly to my life, but then they do in some abstract way. So it's harder to explain, like, exactly tie down what exactly is happening there. So, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak from experience, but, of my own experience, but, like, I have a friend who has, like, kind of dreams, kind of, like, visions sort of things, and he, like, they're of things that actually happen in the future. Not like significant things more often than not, but like, for example,
really quick thing related to game. Just like back row opens for accelerators.
Yeah. I can do that.
But yeah. So your friend has dreams that relate to the future?
Yeah, like, we haven't talked about it in a long while, but back when I was big into personality and I explained the whole extroverted intuition thing to him, and well, there were two instances. One was related to me, where I was having trouble sleeping one night, and I heard like some weird noise in the outside, and it like freaked me out a bit. And then my friend and I were online the next day, and he was like, "Hey, did you have trouble sleeping last night?" I was like, "Yeah." It's like, yeah, I had a sort of dream / vision that there was some like weird creature walking outside near your house. I was like, wait, I heard a really weird noise. And well, it turns out the noise was most likely just like a deer alert call or something like that. But that was where we got the lore for Deer Man from. Was we just like pretended like it was a skinwalker deer that he saw, and not like just a regular deer making that noise. But like the fact that are we gonna survive this?
I fucked up without having hidden detection. There's a glitch somehow with sandcastle barriers can spawn infinite crabs. I don't know how to do it though. We'll be fine now. Okay, maybe.
Yeah, I'll get hidden detection.
I thought it was level 1. I forgot it's level 2. I'm like quick bosses. I'm upgrade them all right now.
But yeah, that was the first experience. The second experience of his was he had a dream that he was in some place with his mom about something, and like a few months later, this is him talking about it in the past. A few months later, which is recent history of at the time, was he went to the place where he saw, and he was like, he was there with his mom on she had interview for a job, and in his dream she was working there, and well, come to find out, his mom actually got the job there at the place that he envisioned her working there. And I was like, huh, that's interesting. And well, don't even get me started on Brendan's dreams that he has. He hasn't told me very many, but like, I could sort of just go on. His are more spiritual based, Brendan's. The one
Mine's more first friends, but they really want to relate to me, where I'll have like, sometimes it's months in the past, and like then things will happen that I had dream. It's me, but yeah, some of them have related to work. Like I'll be in a location, I was like, I've had a dream where I was in this spot. But yeah. Continue, wherever you, but this is kind of interesting. This wasn't really where I was expecting, but I think it's in a good direction so far.
I mean, basically, like, I can't speak a whole lot on it because I don't have personal experience, but like, so like I can only explain what people have explained to me. But I'm
like in spiritual though, like whenever you have like those dreams that like briefs, like more, I guess, like physical explanation beyond the spiritual too.
Yeah, like my dreams are like based in reality more often than not, unless it's like I've had obviously like useless dreams where it's just me in a video game that I've been playing recently. But besides that, I've had, the interesting thing, like we've discussed this previously, of like recurrent dreams, and the interesting thing with that is, I find that interesting because like not only is, that kind of proves that dreams aren't just random nonsense that your brain is like random neuronal firing, because it's a whole story arc in most dreams. Like they have plots, they have a whole, like they're coherent based on dream logic at least. And so like stuff like that is pretty interesting.
Yeah, so like what's a dream you have a lot?
Well, here's the problem. I can usually never remember my dreams. But of the dreams I remember, there's one that I think was spiritual based, kind of, or well, it was, but like it doesn't make. Actually, never mind. I could just explain it a little later. But the dreams that I have most recurrent, one is that creature from Charlotte's Web that haunts my nightmares every now and then for some reason. I'll get a picture of it if I can. Anyway, but yeah, like it's every now and then it's something like that. But I already explained to you that one dream that I sort of, for some reason, I'm able to remember it now, where it was this like stone castle looking place, and did I explain that to you? That was like the recurrent one? I can't remember what I explained.
Well, you said you did, and then we're like, alright, we're getting late, I'm gonna talk about this next time.
Okay. Yeah, so basically to just re-summarize it is it was winter, and I was in this like stone structure, like really large. It had a whole courtyard and everything, and I was just walking around and stuff, and it was empty, but it looked like it was just lived in. Like there was a fire in the fireplace, stuff was cooking, but like there was no people in sight. And I just like walked around trying to figure out where I was, and I didn't know where it was. And then some unknown time later, I was back there, and I was a monk. And I think this was during the time I was looking into the Carthusians. So I think that sort of played a role in it. This is sort of where like the psychology comes into it, where dreams can be usually based on what you're just dealing with in life. Yeah. And so I was there, and I was a monk, and I was just doing monk things throughout that location. But I remember in the dream thinking, so this is where that location was, sort of thinking, it was almost as if in the dream I was remembering having a premonition of it. Now I don't know where it is in real life. I don't think it's a place that exists, but just something like that. That's what I find interesting. So how about, do you have recurrent dreams, stuff like that?
Yes, fairly frequently still. Which I kind of felt like, so when I was a kid, I used to have like very vivid nightmares, which I think was definitely more like, usually was like demonic. Like it was never like it was always like crazy monsters, but like weird shit like that. But it was always like the same few spots that I would have the dreams. The one I remember the best, there's a couple I remember fairly well, but there's one that I recently had a dream. It was like not like yesterday, but like I feel like it was like a year, within a year. Was a spot when I was a kid. It was like this ladder would lead down, and it was somewhere with a lot of ice. And I would always have to go down the ladder for some reason. And then it was like some sort of warehouse that I was in. And in like the warehouse, like it was just like a giant warehouse, but there was always like a presence when I was in it. And it would always lead, and I think it was, I don't really know why, but there was this like crevice in the wall in the back. And I would always have to go in the crevice for some reason. And then I would usually wake up like in a cold sweat, because that's where it was. But sometimes I would go there, but it was always kind of different what was in the cave. The thing I remember the most frequently was the tent back there, which I know sounds stupid, but it was like a tent where the monster was. But I hadn't had that dream in years, and then I had it again recently where I went back there, and then I went in the tent, and there was nothing in it. Outside the tent, but I woke up like before I figured out where it was. So I've had that one a lot. I used to have like ones where I'd be in a boat going down a river, and there was this monster that would follow me, like this like demonic kind of looking creature. But yeah, like is that like, I don't know if it's like the imagination, like these aren't like the more like weird dreams I'll have where it's like, well, that kind of relates to real life. It's more like does this actually mean anything, or like is it like being overactive imagination? Because I've had like actual like dreams where there's been like demonic stuff in them, and I know like what it actually is, but
Well,
I don't know if like how much nightmares are. I feel like for me, they're probably a little bit more because I feel like usually my dreams like relate to real life more often than not, but kind of depends on the day.
yeah, so my limited understanding in dreams in general is pay attention to the emotion tied to them, because that's usually like what your brain may be trying to communicate with you. I have no idea like how sound that is, but that's something I heard from somewhere. I can't remember. It was that dreams may try to portray or express like suppressed emotions or just emotions that you're dealing with in general to try and like process them. And so, like for example, one is running away. Well, in real life, are you running away from something, or do you feel like you're sort of being pushed in a direction? Stuff like that. Or like if you're if you have a dream with like claustrophobia or being trapped or constrained, do you feel stuck in life? Stuff like that. And
Usually more hunt.
what was that?
I said usually my nightmares I'm like hunted.
Yeah, so like maybe you're running away from something or you have some sort of unresolved past thing.
Yeah.
But like I don't know for sure, And
Yeah.
well, I think it's like there's that psychology element, but then there's like obviously the whole spiritual element. And this gets me to the one dream. I mean, I technically remember two from a very long time ago, but the second one was just nonsense. It was the British redcoats, like the Civil War type of thing. They were invading just my house, and that was pretty much it. It was just like the redcoats were going to invade my house for some reason. But the dream that I remember being the most spiritually related was I was being chased by these two-dimensional black and gray, black and white creatures, like gray tone things, and they all had black eyes, and they were like 1 foot tall, but there was like thousands of them, and I was just running away, and at one point, like through some weird logic glitch, I got outside in the middle of the street, and I was completely surrounded. So I remember dropping to my knees and crying out to God for help. And there's basically a like goldish hue type of thing that came from within me that expanded to envelop me, and then I like sort of somehow knew that Jesus was next to me in that moment, because like he then like appeared, or at least him or an angel. I kind of think it was Jesus, because like I was standing up, looking straight down, and like looking at my feet, and I saw a figure with like a very bright white cloak thing, like the stereotypical angel garb, and they were wearing sandals, and they said, I can't remember exactly, I think they said like, don't be afraid, they can't hurt you because I'm here, or something like that, and I'm pretty sure it was Jesus who said that, or at least that's what I felt at the time. And he stretched out his arm, and like all the thousands of two-dimensional gray creatures all like parted to let us walk through, and they couldn't enter the gold aura around us. And I remember trying to look up at his face, but I couldn't, like physically. It just wouldn't let me. So all I could see were his like sandals and like knees down, but it was just a white cloak. And that was the dream I had, like probably when I was single digits type of age.
40% damage boost right now.
Oh, damage boost.
Because I got the medics on the supercharge ability, so that's why they're purple.
Uh-huh.
Oh. Huh. So I mean, Oh wait, it's a flat 20. Oh, you just maxed out usual, dude.
Yeah. But yeah, that was the only dream that I would consider very spiritual. Although you did remind me of one that I can't remember a whole lot of, but it was spiritual, but in the negative sense.
Yeah, that one was.
So that like I can't remember a whole lot from it, but I remember I think I was like on the couch or something, and I like there was some sort of demonic creature. I don't think I was able to see it because it was black, all like a very dark black, and it had yellow, like serpent type eyes or like piercing yellow eyes, and it basically said like it was like taunting me, saying like, look at your sins. What kind of priest would you be? Or something along those lines. I can't remember exactly, and I can't remember anything more than that. But like you just reminded me of that when you were explaining earlier.
So the voice happened again, the demonic one, recently, like this week. I don't remember what it was saying now, but it was something where it was like kind of what I was explaining, where it wasn't like necessarily trying to like it was, but it was more like usually again when it comes, it's not like overt, it's more like taunting. Usually when it comes in like gloating almost.
Yeah.
So I don't remember what it was about now, but it was weird, and like again, like I don't know how you visualize your mind, but for me it's almost like I'm in the stronghold. Usually like when I picture like what's going on in my head, like me and the voices, like I have like kind of avatars for some of them, other ones like I don't. But it's usually like some sort of control room in a giant castle.
Yeah.
And usually when that happens, like the castle's getting raided, so like I could go in a panic room usually. And right outside, so that's kind of what happened then was, you know, there was like a breach of defenses at the Lucian Interior Ministry Castle.
Yeah.
But it was successfully repelled, so this week. And then I had another period with them, like where it was like I had gone to confession something, like I wasn't praying, and then it was like basically it was so weird, dude. Like I don't like, again, I don't know if it was imaginary, if it was like an own vision inside my head where I was like in the castle, but I was picturing a room that I had never seen before, where that's where Jesus is, and he was just sitting in there, but it was almost like an interrogation cell, and like all like my voices were basically asking me like, "Are you ready to like go back in there?" And like I didn't like want to at first, but then eventually I did. So it was like just him sitting there waiting.
Yeah, that's interesting because that harkens right back to our conversation on prayer. You know, that's like your visualization of are you ready to get back into it.
Well, literally, like the main man voice was like, "Sir, are you ready to go in?" And it was like just like an image pulled up on the like CPT, you know, of the room, and I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, I think I'm dressing up my own, but I think I don't know. For me, it's really cool. So I don't know. If it's like, but the most like dream I remember the most is like demonic. I mean, I've had like other ones like the shades and stuff. I think I've kind of explained that to you before, like the shadows.
I think
that like sometimes come in my room and stuff, but
yeah, I think you've explained that in the past.
Yeah, but the one with oh shit, let me get I never looked at the last wave. Give me a sec. Was when I was hanging out with Aaron. I had this one. Sorry, I'm getting really shit. I gotta like lock in here.
Yep.
Interesting. I can break through the healing. So, like the weird thing about the healing right now, I guess the dream is like I don't know how it works, like health, but basically they can break through the shield. Oh, it's just way easier with the duo, dude. This is such a pain in the ass. Dude, medic though is crazy now. Cause you get the fire rate boost too, just like the flat fire rate, and you can do like the overcharge thing. Yeah, but I was having this. This was like when I was hanging out. Like this was like right in the midst of me hanging out with Aaron and stuff.
Mhm.
Was hey, I don't know if I think it was right after I visited his apartment. That's when the Ouija board disappeared. Was I had a dream where I was in his apartment, and he'd also had a bunch of like I don't remember how. Like I'm sure I've explained to you before. Like he got picked up in the shower and shit, and like stuff was happening in his apartment. So I was there, and it was there with, and he was like big, like a big shadow, where he was like in the corner, like looking down at me. And then he started chasing me, and his apartment was like bigger than it should have been. But eventually, I made it to the stairs, and I run down the stairs, and then all of a sudden, like it transitioned to the second floor of my parents' house, like the stairs. And I was going down the stairs, and I came down, and it was like very warmly illuminated, the entire house. So it was
Yeah,
all
I
lit by
remember this one. Yeah.
yeah, so it's all lit by candles, and then the demon comes down, like he starts shrinking, and then eventually I make it to the bathroom, and then he's like a little tiny two-dimensional figure on the wall, which is interesting because again, I think I've kind of explained how I think I have this one demon that's been, I guess, like stalking me my entire life, and it just relates to a dream I had when I was a kid, allegedly, where I was like 3 or 4, and I told my parents that I had a nightmare, and apparently there was like this demon that was on the wall that was like shape-shifting into one of my cousins, but there was them. But I was like, that's how I was like, I've never been able to visualize it until I had that dream. Where then it was like, first it was a 3-dimensional shadow, and then when it came to my parents' place, it was on the wall. Like it became 2-dimensional. So, but I had an interesting conversation with one of my friends recently. It was a diocesan event. Like we were just talking about, like I was explaining to him like the whole story of like the ghosts and shit. Let me re-invite you.
Yeah, I have to succeed on triumphant chessboard in any game mode.
I want to do Fallen for that.
Yeah, and I have to kill Fallen King twice.
Okay. And basically, he was telling me I forget. He basically had like a night terror where he had night terrors where like this shade would stalk him in his dreams, so he would just start like calling out to Jesus to protect him in his sleep. So, and that would always work. But then one night he woke up and the demon was actually in the room with him, like it was in the corner, coming closer to the bed while he was in it, and he couldn't move. So he started doing the same thing, and then eventually, like after he did that, it like went, it like I don't know if it hissed, it did something, and then it like phased through the wall and left. I immediately fell back to sleep. So like I've had like similar experiences where like I don't even necessarily see it. It's more like, I don't know if you ever had that experience where like you wake up and your room's like supernaturally dark. That happens to me every once in a while, where it's like you open your eyes and you literally like you can't see in front of you, even though there should be a little light.
I don't think I've experienced that I can remember at least.
Yeah, so that happens to me. Like I used to. It was again like everything was like oh yeah, I'll wait till a truck spawns. Wait a minute, is this a double? No, it's not. I thought they were going in both directions. They have some maps where you gotta defend both. It was I don't remember what I was saying now. Something about darkness in the room.
Yeah, supernatural darkness and
Yeah,
explaining your
supernatural
experience.
darkness. Yeah, so like sometimes like that will happen. It's like I just feel like a presence in the room, and it's like I'm not like a little kid anymore. Like, I'll wake up in the night and like I'm fine. Other nights, so it's like I wake up and I'm literally like I remember I'd be so terrified, like I wouldn't even be able to open my eyes because I would just know something was right next to the bed. And like then I like sometimes I'd brave it. I open my eyes and literally like it was just so impossibly dark in the room. I couldn't see anything, but I knew something like was at the foot of the bed. So that's happened a few times, but it hasn't been happening as much recently, like, which is a good thing. I don't like it when it happens, you know.
Right.
But that's kind of like the closest I get, like I guess on a day to day with the demonic, beyond like the other stuff that's happened. But like as far as my dreams go, I don't know. That one was like fairly clear, but the other one, like nightmares, I don't know. Like I feel like, is it just the mind? Like for me, it always feels more demonic. Usually, sometimes it's more demonic feeling than others, where it's like just like the evil's almost like disgusting in the nightmare to like a point that like I couldn't even like imagine me imagining it, or whatever the hunter is like so horrific. But I don't know.
Hmm. Yeah, I haven't experienced those, as my nightmares are usually just nonsense nightmares, or like generic vague things of like. I mean, I can't really remember that much because I don't really remember my dreams.
I just remember the one where I almost like pissed my pants. I was so scared. Was the one in the boat, and I just remember there was a humanoid creature that had a human face of some sort. But I don't remember what the rest of the body looked like. But I was in the boat with like some soldiers or something. And again, it reminds me of like how I envision stuff in my own mind, where it's like I have like my friends with me, and this thing was just stalking us from the woods. And I think eventually we had to disembark from the boat, but like it kept getting some of the guys that were with me until I was alone, and then I was just fucking running.
Hmm.
Oh, dude, I just remember the dream I used to love the most, but I also would have nightmares in it on occasion, like it would get hijacked, was, you know the old play structures from, like, McDonald's?
Yeah, yeah.
It was basically that, except it was gigantic, and it was this entire arcade I get to use to go to, like, in my dreams, where there's all different areas, but one area was like that, but a lot of the areas were fine, but whenever I went in the play structure area, and it would go on for like forever, dude. It was gigantic, but there was all kinds of fun areas that it could be playing and stuff. But dude, this one area, the monster lived, and I don't even remember if it always was. I remember sometimes I'd go and wouldn't be there, but a lot of times like there'd be this, and again, never like really saw it, but there'd be this thing that would stalk me in it, and I'd basically have to stay alive until I woke up. Kind of deal. The best kinds of dreams, you know, the old stay alive until you wake up, you know.
Yeah, new mission survive.
Yeah, dude. Love those ones. Shit. I guess I'll use. I want to figure out how to do this exploit. Okay, let's see. The 50 health. Okay, alright, we're good. I'm gonna drop a golden crook boss this round. Yeah, I feel like this is a harder map than the one we were just doing, which is supposedly easier. But I used to love that dream, the play structure. But again, like that one felt like one of the kid's dream though. That one like didn't feel necessarily as demonic.
Yeah.
I used to have ones with like family members too that like that shit. Like in like all my parents have had like demonic dreams before. My mom especially has. My dad too. I think my dad had an experience where he woke up in something like, you remember how I explained like the car to you, like the roar that happened in my car, like over the speakers?
Yeah.
He had something similar like that happen to him, except it was he woke up to it like roaring like right in his face, but there was nothing there, and or like moaning like that like dead moan, but there was nothing there, and it didn't wake up my mom didn't wake up to it, and he was like terrified.
Yeah.
But he was having all kinds of stuff happen then, like he kept having like nightmares and stuff. So for me, it's kind of been a while. Like it's been a decent amount of time since I've had like, because I don't remember my dreams too well now, but I remember my old ones. Now what about lucid dream? How often do you lucid dream?
Almost never. I think I've had one partial lucid experience where I was like, and it was like the day before I literally like thought about it. I was like thinking about lucid dreams and stuff like that, like learning about it. It was a long time ago, and you know, in that dream I was in like an old Call of Duty map, just walking around for some reason. And I remember partway through, like quote unquote waking up or becoming aware that I'm in a dream, and I was like, huh, this is interesting. And then I think like I just forgot to maintain that awareness, and then it just went back to default dream. Like that was the closest thing to lucid dreaming I had.
I used to have lucid dreams, not like recently, but I'm more wondering like, because I've thought about like I've looked into like trying to actually manufacture lucid dreams, but never like done it. So I don't know if that's like, I still like want to try and make it something that happens more regularly, but I just don't know how to do that per se, or it's hard to like replicate, I guess.
Yeah, trying to think about that because like I don't really know how I feel about lucid dreaming trying to do it because like
So what's the hesitation? Was it something spiritual, or?
I think because it can open the door to something spiritual because you're not awake and conscious per se. I mean, like you have your mental faculties theoretically in a lucid dream, but like it's not the same as being awake, you know? So it's like, do you have full regular spiritual authority and faculties, or are the rules changed in a dream state?
I don't have the answer to that. That's what I mean. That's what's interesting. So that means that you do think. I mean, I could be wrong. That I'm inferring that you do think the dreams take place in a more spiritual. But does that depend on how much control you have of your faculties in it either, or how aware you are of the dream?
So I think dreams, I wouldn't say they occur in a spiritual realm, but I mean, they obviously occur in a non-physical realm, but I do 100% think that the spiritual elements can affect the dreamscape, so to speak. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, because I guess it is kind of true based on all the research I've seen. Is like dreams is a good way to, well, I mean I'm saying good way, but good way to contact the other side essentially.
Right, because like if you think about it, like demons can control or can influence, let me say, emotions, thoughts, stuff like that. What is a dream if not exclusively thoughts and emotions?
Yeah.
Right, and so I don't like that kind of control that you would put that kind of risk, I would say, you would put yourself in if you became aware. Because then where does the culpability lie if you become aware in a lucid dream with what you do? Because, like, you know, Catholic teaching is like, you're not responsible for what happens in your dreams. But what if you're aware? Do you then become responsible?
Or do you have more control, though, at that point?
Well, how much control do you have? Is it only based on what you yourself experience?
It's been a long time since I've had a lucid dream, but I remember having like very vividly having full control, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's pretty much my hesitation.
You know what? So I guess this is how I'd put it. I have control over myself. I don't have control over my environment. So I guess that's where it can get dangerous.
Yeah.
But I do to a certain extent. I remember like the old superhero dream. I don't know if you ever had like those where you have abilities, and like I would have control over what that exactly looked like. So I don't know. It's an interesting question. I mean, again, I haven't like looked into it in a long time, but what the fuck? I was like,
yeah.
Should I greater control?
Yeah, and like I'll have to do more research on that because I vaguely remember some sort of exorcist talking about it and saying it should be avoided, like to do it on purpose. But I can't remember why or if that's even what was said because it was like a long time ago. I can't remember. So maybe that could just be nothing.
Yeah, I'm sure there's someone who's talked about it, but again, I feel like it's not common enough that people talk about it.
Well, not common, I'd say, in the global society, but perhaps in spiritual circles it's common.
Maybe.
And maybe that's all that matters is, you know, of the people who can do it, what's the intention?
Yeah, I'm more just like read of people who like would use the extra time to learn things. Like you can do a lot. But yeah, I don't know if that's a gateway either, what that exactly looks like.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thought. But again, I feel like, why is the demonic more active at night?
I don't know if that's, I can't say for certain if that's true. I guess I would ask first, is that true?
Based on my experience, it usually is. That's when there's the most activity. In my from what I've seen. Like, I'm sure if we'd gone to that factory during the day, like, there's a chance stuff would have happened, but...
Yeah, and I would posit, like, two theories of why that could be. One is, the demons obviously in for everything that God does, which is why 3 a.m. is the witching hour, because Christ died at 3 p.m. And so maybe since Christ lived during the day, the demons try to quote-unquote live during the night. And the second thing is, you know, the night is considered scary in, like, almost all cultures. And so I think people who practice occult things do so at night because, you know, occult things are considered scary, and so, you know, the scary things come out at night. Therefore, if we want to contact the scary things, we should do it at night because the night is scary. You know, that sort of line of thinking.
One of my favorite lines of any book is Fablehaven series by Brandon Moyes. My favorite author is he has because they ask the question in the book because it's blunt story. Basically, they ask the question like, why does evil like to operate at night, and then the answer is evil likes to hide. So that's kind of always stuck with me.
Yeah, I mean that's true. In like we associate light with good and dark with bad, you know. So maybe it's an affinity for darkness for whatever reason.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting, but I guess I won't try and lucid dream. I've never like I was like I don't really feel like I've looked like I kind of know how like the rough ways you can try and do it, but it's not like concrete per se.
Yeah.
Like I think it takes practice, but like I never like care enough. You have to get off at night. Like the best way to do it from what I've seen is like, you have to keep it on your mind, and then you have to have an anchor when you go to sleep, and it also helps to wake up in the middle of the night and go back to sleep if you can figure out what your REM cycle is, which I probably could pretty easily, seeing as I have a backlog of, I don't know, I think 6 or 7 years on my sleep app of like when sleep cycle is.
Yeah, you know, here's another way to think about it, at least from a Catholic perspective. Is, you know, premise one, you know, the dreamscape is spiritual in nature. You know, premise two, Catholics should not dabble in the spiritual scape unless they are, you know, like within proper authority, i.e. like praying or like exorcists doing their thing, right? And so like, you know, conclusion, you know, we should at the very least be very careful of what type of places we explore. You know, if we have the proper authority or something. Like that's like not a well-formulated argument. That's just the thinking pattern that I was going down.
No. That's what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, it's like, I guess it's trying to diagnose precisely how much is like the spiritual, like in a dream, but I'd lean more on the side probably more than not, even than you, but it's just interesting that you're arguing that it's probably more so if you have control.
Yeah, because my sort of view is, you know, God is not going to put you in a situation that you are completely unaware of and at risk of, in a sense of like obviously there are things like people who don't know that the Ouija board is bad and yet they do it puts them in danger, right? But I think if you are aware and yet choose to go into that type of environment, like you then it's kind of like the same logic of a mortal sin. You know, you and I know that dreams can have spiritual elements, and so simply by the fact that we know that, and if we choose to interfere in it, you know, are we then interfering in what is spiritual, and do we have that type of authority?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting case, right? Because like we don't know a whole lot about it, and there's psychologists who have their take, and I don't really know what exorcist take is on dreams. I've sort of heard it's kind of nothing. However, that doesn't include lucid dreaming. That includes just default dreams that you don't have any control over.
I don't know. Again, I'm more like on the side where like I just have a lot of things happening, so I don't know. But I mean, who the hell knows? I mean, I don't like. Again, ultimately, at the end of the day. But yeah, probably leaning more on the side of caution is probably always a wise thing.
Yeah.
Much as I like weird shit like that, you know? But again, that's like something I deal with though. Like that inkling.
It's curiosity, right? So,
Yeah, sure. Like, I guess like for me with lucid dreams, more just like what, like how much control can you get? Like I wasn't even really thinking about the spiritual side. Like in a dream, like how much could I actually like control what the environment is and stuff? Like could I run a D&D campaign in a dream? You know?
yeah. And you know, it's sort of like a thing to keep in mind is intention of, you know, I don't know how much how much of the Exorcist Files you've listened to, but you know, one of the things is, you know, curiosity is kind of dangerous in the spiritual realm, right? And so, if it is true that dreams are even a little spiritual, you know, there is a danger to curiosity. You know, don't go looking for things you don't want to find, is a quote I've heard somewhere. And so, like, you know, while on one hand, it would be cool to figure out what you can do in a lucid dream, on the other hand, like, what if you have less control than you think, and you're just opening a door? And then what do you do if in your lucid dream, let's say, another sentient creature who is spiritual decides to mess around?
That would be an actual one. I don't know what I would do in that situation. That'd be a little bit more difficult.
Right.
To diagnose, I guess, what the reaction would be there.
Right, and like, you know, you'll probably never know unless you experience it firsthand, but, you know, that's sort of like
the odds of me actually trying to manufacture lucid dreams is fairly low, but I mean, again, it's like I'm more just like going on like the line of this conversation.
Yeah, just exploring like what is a lucid dream, you know, what are the implications of it, stuff like that.
Yeah, again, because like I don't like this. Like again, it's like a lot of shit I don't like necessarily talk about a whole lot with everyone. Like the head, you know. Again, no one pretty much no one knows about that. But again, I don't know how much of that is like, is there something more than meets the eye, or is it just the way that I structure my own like thought process?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I was paying more attention to how I think, and I sort of noticed I have my internal monologue occurs most when I'm not doing something, but I'm still thinking about something. That's sort of like, for example, like when I think about stuff, I do quite a lot in, I guess, the form of a talking with God, kind of like a prayer, but not like intended to be a prayer. It's sort of just like thinking about a thing and then sort of saying, like, speaking it in words within my head as if I'm talking to someone. But that's like when I'm like in bed or like not doing something. Whereas this conversation, I have no internal monologue going on because it takes up too much time and I have to, you know, understand and react. And so that's sort of where that part gets put to the subconscious, and my subconscious is doing all that at hyperspeed or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, when you're talking, it's there, but when I'm speaking, it's not always necessarily. Like I said, where I'm, like, prepped ahead of time, where I'll have a launch point of what I'm gonna say, and then it's kind of like the instinct takes over after that. Well, I mean, the inner monologue, like, it's usually, like, fairly present a lot of the time. There's, like, something going on in the back end, but it kind of depends. Not always, but a lot of the time for me. Who else needs a shield? On you. But I don't know, like, thoughts is very interesting. So, like, so you have one voice then. So, like, what is your inner monologue? Is it a conversation, like, with yourself, or is it just, like, kind of, like, well, I guess it's in the word, I guess mine, I shouldn't say monologue, it's more like a dialogue.
Yeah, so I think mine is more just like a one-sided conversation, and then sometimes ideas pop into my head that either answer the question I proposed or, like, you know, help me understand something better. So it's kind of like, yeah, I guess that's the best way I could describe it. It's a one-sided conversation in terms of words, but it's a two-way street in terms of ideas. But it all originates from within, so it's almost like I'm speaking to my subconscious, almost. But, like, I don't have it, it's not personalized or characterized anymore. Like, I'm not speaking to anything in particular. I'm sort of, I mean, on one sense, I'm speaking to God, because, you know, sometimes I say we in terms of I, because it's like, I'm doing it with God, in a sense. I mean, it kind of depends on what I'm talking about as well. But, like, that's sort of just how it goes. It's like, words only originate from me. However, like, I come up with new thoughts that I did not previously think of. And,
Isn't that crazy? That work.
Yeah, you know, I mean, that's sort of just like the interesting thing of the brain, of like creativity in general. Of you can just make something completely unique and new.
Yeah. Again, I still don't really understand the voices, but I don't know if this is like how my thought process is working, but they're quiet right now. So not too much chatter, so that's a good thing, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
It's weird. Like that's what I mean. Like in a lucid dream. Again, like I'm more just like doing hypothetical here. Like, could I act life in a visual dream, like in a more?
You were breaking up when you said that. What was it?
I was like, well, if I was in a lucid dream now, where I have more knowledge and control of myself, would I be able to bring them to life? You know? Like that's kind of like an interesting thought process there.
Yeah. And here's a sort of, it's a bit of a tangent, but like, it's related. Like, if you were to bring to life your inner thoughts as characters in a dream, this sort of always concerns me of creating capabilities of sentience without a soul, because like this sort of ties into like cloning and stuff like that. You know, my running hypothesis is if man creates something that has the capabilities of thought, but it's not piloted by a god-created soul, then it is an empty vessel in which a demon can take control of. Not that it necessarily would, but it could. And so, like, my thought is, do you really want these internal thoughts becoming real in a dream?
I don't know, because how does that work in my head, though?
Right. Like, is it just you? You know, that's the thing. Because like maybe it's just you and you.
Well, that's trying to diagnose. So, because I've been looking at it like a lot more now that like you mentioned it. What do you want to do now for game mode 2, another Fallen?
Yeah, I have to triumph a lighthouse in any game mode and kill Fallen King one more time.
Okay, do the lighthouse. Let me check my quests.
Well, it's light and then HAOS, which I assume is house.
play survival lawman duo. Yeah, so that's an interesting question because how much defense do you have in a dream? Because it is still in your mind. So does that work like your own? Because the demonic's not allowed to access your thoughts unless you give access.
Mhm.
So working for again, it's like the control.
But like, is a dream all in your head? And if it is, why can't you control it? But that brings up the same question of, if you can control it, does it become all in your head and then they can't access it?
I don't know. Again, like I've had like demonically inspired dreams before, but not the ones. It's more like the ones that I like I'm usually not in control most of the time.
Mhm.
That's an interesting app. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that would look like. Like, and I'm not even saying that I would necessarily create them, but it was more like,
Yeah.
would my subconscious be able to bring that to life? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, I ask these questions just in a form of exploration, not trying to like criticize
Yeah.
or anything like that. But
No, me too. I mean, well, again, like I'm not saying this is gonna like. I mean, I've already said that. So essentially, it's
yeah,
more just like what is the realm of possibility for a dream? But I like that idea though of because I mean that's my same thing with AI. Did we have this discussion before with AI and how it can be a medium for the demonic essentially?
yes, I do remember. It was when we were playing Minecraft.
Yo, Minecraft. Dude, I've been getting the itch lately and I don't want to play it.
Hey, bro, we can always start up like
No,
a world or something that can get
what I've been
abandoned.
wanting what I've been wanting to do is a super flat survival because
Huh?
mainly because I've seen some videos. If you waited, if the truck gets to the end, it will respawn.
It did. It respawns
But,
even midway.
oh, perfect.
When the round starts.
So yeah, I don't. That's an interesting question because what about if there's a character in a lucid dream that you don't make? But I don't know that I even like. Again, I would have to have a lucid dream to even see if that's possible. I don't even like. Again, it's been so long. I don't know how much control I'd actually have over the narrative direction of the dream beyond myself.
Yeah, and you know, this is an interesting thing about like your mind, and it sort of gets into the philosophy of yourself of you know, take desire for example, or even like I hear it most in like addictions and like psychiatry and psychology of like, you know, you don't have full control over your brain and over yourself. And so I assume the same would be applied to dreams, because like default dreams we don't have control over, and yet they come from ourselves. And so we don't really have full control over ourselves in a sense. And so like sort of the same thing with lucid dreams. Like sure, you could try to create something that you have control over, but if you zoom out, let's say you have like your entire mind, parts you do and don't control. What if you're only existing in a lucid dream within the small part you do control, but there's a whole world outside of that tiny little lucid dream that you don't control?
I 100% think that's how it's structured. I don't like, because like,
But like,
again, there's areas that the demonic has access to, like obviously with temptations, and then like how the hell does the voice get in my head, like the demonic one I was telling you about, like how he was there, all that, like, and I was able to, expunge him from my mind, but like it was there, so clearly there's some sort of, like the mind has some sort of gateway that exists, but it's how heavily is that defended in a dream? Would the boundaries be really defined where you can tell where the danger zones are? Like, I don't know.
yeah, that's a good question, because like let's say it's like an inbounds versus out of bounds area, and you know, if something were to, I sort of envision it like a little, you know, world that you create, and then it's just like floating in the middle of a foggy void, and there are creatures like floating around, swimming around, whatever, in that foggy void, you know, how defended, so to speak, are you able to be in a dream? Because you're not fully awake. And while you may be fully conscious, I don't really know how a lucid dream works, you know, sort of what you were saying, is it the same type of resistance?
Well, let's say a hypothetical situation. I'm at the castle that I built in my mind, where I'm usually like, when I'm just kind of like in idle thought, I'm at the castle and in the control room. Like,
Yeah.
Usually I have a pretty acute idea of what the physical defenses would look like. Would that be how that would translate? Would it be because it's a dream and I'm physically present because it's lucid? Would it be a physical attack that could be repelled? Or is it, again, spiritual, where it'd be able just to break in, like bypass? I don't know.
Yeah, because in real life, you are a physical being, and because we are body-soul composites, in a dreamscape, you don't have the body composite part. So are you then, is it like, are you outside of your exoskeleton, so to speak, and in a vulnerable state?
So it's kind of interesting because I've explored this in my indie campaign where they're in the Shadowfell right now, and I haven't used it yet, but I've made it where they're still partially physical, but again, I have it more where it's like, again, it's D&D, so there's a slider where it's not completely spiritual, but they're closer to the spiritual realm than to the physical, so they're more susceptible to like psychic attacks essentially while they're in the Shadowfell for that. But they're also still physical, so I haven't like explored beyond like what a full non-physical body would look like. But in a dream, how much of the material plane logic per se like would apply? Okay, fucking kidding me. I got them. No, that's a really interesting question. I don't actually know what that would look like. Because again, say it's the castle. Like I'm just using like for me, it's the easiest thing for me to picture of like a location. Like if I could bring a location to life, that would be it. But I don't know how. Would it be defended the same way? Would I be in control of it? Could I bring like the defenders to life? Like would they be like? And also, it's like how much effort would it like? Say I put less thought into creating like the external. It's like I don't know, maybe it's possible to brain and create like all these little personalities for all these guys just manning the turrets and the walls and things like that. But would they be less susceptible because I put less effort into creating them, or more? Whereas
I would think I would probably say more susceptible, because the parts that are not filled out will get, let's say, auto-generated or filled out by either your subconscious or something other than you.
But if it's the subconscious, does that mean that wouldn't they be a little bit more insulated? Would be my thought process, because Ivan has as much direct control in trying to create a personality per se. It's more just like a robot that's doing X, Y, or Z.
I think it would. So I view the subconscious. Well, we all know that the subconscious has an effect on the conscious, even if you're not fully aware of it. So I would say that the things that are not fully fleshed out, that get auto-completed by your subconscious, would be susceptible to the bad parts of you. Not necessarily by bad things, but like the parts of you that you may not want to come to the surface. Because like, let's say it was suppressed or something and you're unaware of it. Like, I think like biology or biopsychology or whatever field that is shows that emotions still affect the body even if you're not aware you're experiencing the emotion consciously, simply by the nature of it existing in your subconscious or otherwise will have an effect.
Do you think the subconscious would have a stronger role then over this? And I guess I'm thinking, or it's more like I say I'm in the void somewhere, I'm on the island, and then I generate the castle, but it's more an act of will on my part, where it's like I sculpt it. Or are you more thinking like I'd become lucid and it would already be there, and then I would kind of fill out details or let my subconscious fill out?
I think you would fill out what you will think of, and then everything else that you did not think of will get filled in by your subconscious.
Okay. That's an interesting thought. But again, like usually when there's like some like again, this is like me in my own little fantasy land. So there's a hypothetical raid of something demonic, which I don't know how real it is, but usually it's accompanied by temptation of some sort. Is like it's usually usually everything comes down to like the control room. That's like where the most serious threats, are usually dealt with. So I guess I don't know how much external defenses would matter as far as the actual physical structure, but this is a very interesting abstract thought process.
Yeah.
It's like because we're still talking about like it hypothetically being a dream, so I don't know, like I don't know. Is it like more access to your mind? What areas is it? How culpable are you? Like these are all like questions I don't have answers to. I don't know.
Right.
Because now I'm worried. I'm like, well, shit. What if I have a lucid dream all of a sudden? What am I gonna do? Like tonight's gonna be the friggin' night. It's been years.
Yeah, because we were thinking about it, right? And so now it's gonna happen or something. But
well, there is a correlation from what I've seen where, like, that's why you have an anchor where it's like you have a word that you keep repeating. So when you fall asleep, you keep repeating it.
And now, oh, sorry.
Huh?
Yeah, I was gonna say, is that not proof that the subconscious would have a big role on it?
I guess. Well, yeah, you'd be right because you use the anchor word to kind of pull yourself from this, like, the subconscious, the conscious activity. So yeah, probably more so. I guess to get there, like it's more like you're trying to pull your consciousness. But how does that even work? How can you even be conscious in a dream in the first place? Like, so that means that like the consciousness has more of a tie to the spiritual, I guess, if it can interact with both the physical but also the dream. So how does that work though? If it's a manifestation of your own mind, or is it? How much is it?
Yeah, because I view consciousness as existing in either in part or in full in the soul, and so it becomes spiritual. And so, like, how does that even exist in something like a dream? Well, I mean, if the dream is spiritual, it's sort of like existing on its own plane of existence, if that makes sense. Like, a soul is on a non-physical plane, a dream is on a non-physical plane. If you want your conscious soul to be in the dream, it's sort of just a matter of linking the two that are already on the same plane. Maybe something like that.
No, a dream is more of a subconscious dream. Is it more? I would say then, based on this line of logic, it's more grounded in the physical, like, part of your mind as opposed to the spiritual component of the soul, because when the soul, I guess, gets brought into consciousness, you're linking it maybe more directly to some sort of spiritual reality. What do you think about that?
I think dreams that are more founded on the subconscious are probably, like what you said, less spiritual, but I think they're as non-physical.
Yeah, I think they're as well. I more mean like if it's more being generated in the physical part of your mind, like like I don't. And when you bring your soul in, you're generating it perhaps more in the soul, because I think the mind is like a spirit body composite, just like how we are.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So maybe if you bring the soul into it, you bring consciousness in it, you're linking it more directly to the spiritual.
Yeah, the spiritual side of the mind, so to speak. Yeah, that kind of, like, a metaphor I would use for that is like a GPU versus a CPU.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's...
Cool. Hardware versus software, maybe?
I don't know about that, because, I mean, a dream does not... I don't think you can stimulate neurons to create a dream. maybe parts of a dream or stimulate the non-physical aspects of a dream.
Well, I want to look more into dreams. Like, I don't like. I think that's a more up and coming field. There seems to be a lot more research in it, but like I haven't looked into it like myself. And, like, what exactly the extent of that is. Oh yeah, we're doing ranges up there. I'm gonna do firework check here then. Kind of snuggle the accelerators around the firework tech.
Oh yeah, we get that DJ booth upgraded. Forgot about that.
Appreciated. I've just been thinking, trying to link the two. So the Mind Fortress. When I'm conscious and awake, how can that get rated in my own mind now is what I'm thinking. So if it can happen in my own mind, that means it's likely to happen in a dream as well.
Right.
But again, I don't know how much of that is like an amalgamation of my own like imagination scheme. Because like I've always had like a hyperactive imagination, so I don't know how much. But again, sometimes it's like it correlates, but I don't know if it's just like there's something again in the subconscious, and I'm just putting like a face on it that I can see. Making it easy for me to picture. I don't know, like the information more easy to digest. But then why does that happen in the first place? Why does my mind feel the need to give things personality or like to create a storyline?
I think just ease of understanding.
But it's like, do I even will it though? That's the thing. Or is that somehow subconscious? Because like,
well,
I don't know how it started in the first place.
So
rooted in the subconscious.
Yeah, so here's an idea. Our brains automate habits, and that takes place in the subconscious. And so our brain will try to automate learning and understanding. And so what if it tries to like make it, and it does this for efficiency, so we don't have to consciously think about every single decision, right? So what if it, for you, your subconscious made these characters because that in its thinking that was how you most efficiently understood stuff.
I guess that could be true. But again, now I'm worried about the idea you mentioned where if I've created some facsimile of sentience in my own mind, but it's not actually that, is how prone is it to, I guess, like a hostile takeover, possession of sorts.
Right. And that's kind of, I sort of tried to, I don't want to say probe at that idea of, when I asked, like, or I think last time we talked, when I mentioned of, like, do you hear voices of demons and stuff like that?
Well, I do.
Right. And so, like, I sort of brought that up so that it's sort of to think, like, I guess you would have to vet the voices.
Well, that's what I've been doing. So I've kind of been doing so I have a couple I have a couple that are safe that I trust more than others. Because again, there's more like characters that come and go on the fringes, and then there's the core group that has, it's, you know, that like the veterans of the group that I'm pretty sure I can trust in Crisis. So, like when there was like the very obviously demonic voice that was an intruder. So I don't know. I don't know how to create a foolproof test for that either. But I don't know how much control I have over either, like eliminating the voices, and I don't know that I necessarily want to either.
Right.
Like, because again, I can suppress them, but to a limited extent. But again, I don't think it's inherently bad at the moment.
Right, and that's sort of where testing the spirits comes into play. Of like, you know, Jesus said to test the spirits to make sure they're of God, or at the very least not of evil.
Yeah, but again, I feel like, because again, like, I don't know how much access to the mod, like, I would have to have some sort of gateway that I'm not aware of, where I'm basically pseudo-possessed in a way where it's not necessarily physical, but there's some sort of anchor that a demon has in my mind.
Yeah, like kind of like oppression or something like that.
Yeah. But again, it's like I just don't think that's the case simply based on the fact that like it like I was talking to you like, oh, it hasn't happened in a while, and then it happens like 2 days later. I'm like, oh shit, this is now I know, like now I'm kind of confirming what I like was explained about. Like I was like, am I bullshitting him? And then it happened. I was like, oh no, this is actually like it's actually exactly how I remember it. Where it's like very obviously an intruder.
Right. And so that would probably, just be proof, I guess, of that your mental thoughts of characters are not evil. Simply because, like, you've experienced what is evil. And so, yeah, it's sort of safe to assume that the other is not.
Hopefully not. Oh, it's like having it'd be like having an old friend betray you,
Yeah.
I don't know. There's some weird shit in life.
Yeah.
It's just interesting how your own mind can be such a foreign place, though.
Right.
Because, like, again, it's like the castle. Why do I have to think? I was just like thinking through like the entire thought process, like the subconscious of like how, because again, like it feels like a lot of it's generated in the subconscious, and it's like, well, why do I need an entire fortress to protect myself? And then I'm like, well, then why do all these like these seemingly fictitious raids happen all the time? I was like, clearly that means there's areas that are dangerous within the mind. So
Right.
it's like I'm visualizing.
Take the passions, for example.
Huh?
Take the passions, for example, like the appetites. They have a tendency to desire lesser goods. And so, that's sort of like a weak spot in the defense, so to speak, or at least in a possible intruder. If you think of, like, the mental castle and temptation in general.
Well, it's kind of funny because sometimes, like, the different, like, I wonder if sometimes, like, the visualization of the passions do come in, like, the various ones, because I do have, like, different intruders that will come in that I will have to... Well, again, it's, like, usually, like, some sort of temptation will be associated with it, but then it's, like, a visual interpretation of it. Of, like, how that attack is being repelled.
Because, like, I mean, perhaps, this is just a skill issue on my part. I don't have that large expanse of, like, visualization of my inner workings. Like, I recall things through images, but I don't, like, exist mentally in images.
It's not, it's like, I guess it's kind of like an image, but it's like a place, though. That's the crazy thing.
Yeah. I'm trying to think, like, I just don't think that way, so, like, I just don't have any of that kind of experience.
But what's weird is, like, I pretty much, like I've said, like, I've kind of lost my mind's eye, so I don't really know how I see it in my mind. It's like, it's not like an image that I see, it's just like an idea of a place, and I know it exists.
Like a concept more than an image?
Very abstract.
Yeah.
I mean, I do get bits and pieces, but it's very, like, easy, the images I get. It's almost, it's like, it'd be like if I wasn't wearing my glasses, but, like, on steroids. Because, like, before, the questions I had, like, crystal clear, like, I could picture anything in my mind and bring it to life, whereas now I have less control over it, so it's kind of more like, what's, like, again, that's why I think the subconscious came more to the forefront, is it's areas I have less control of, I can usually see easier. Because I'm not the one who has to, like, I can't picture you right now and imagine your face in my head, but sometimes if I'm thinking about you on the peripheral, like, when I'm not actively trying to, or I'm just thinking of something that reminds me of you, the image might be there, but it's like, it's kind of like doing it, like, just in my vision, and then when I try to focus on it, it disappears. Like, I can't actively bring it into focus. It just kind of, like, it has to do its own thing. So it's kind of like how like the place in my mind is. It's like if I'm not focusing on it directly too much, it's clear than if I try to force it.
Yeah, that's interesting that that's sort of the case with you, because I know there's an idea that the more you try to remember something, the more, I guess, messed up the memory becomes, because it gets like slightly off in detail and less detailed over time. So like it's almost,
Memory.
yeah, it's like the more you try to remember something, you're just remembering the memory, not remembering the thing.
Yeah, it's weird. Level 38, dude. Holy shit. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have too much more to dream. I mean, I guess like the lucid dream is just like a realm, I guess, of infinite possibilities. I don't know. It's just
I think it's a problem of the unknown.
yeah, it's like there's not enough, and then it's like the AI thing. Like how close is the brain to a computer as far as like, but like is like I feel like is that different? Like how much different is that? I don't know. Like the AI thing is still interesting to me.
But I'm just saying, like, having to think of this deeply, I don't know how much more that I can do today.
I mean, I don't really have anything else on the dreams, dude. That's kind of. I mean, that was 2 hour, like an hour and a half, I guess. So that was pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely an interesting talk.